The planet 4 was ugly, had seen many worlds in her 10 years of flying cargo ships across the galaxy, but this one was special in its ugliness. Brown dust covered everything. The sky was yellow from pollution. The buildings looked like they might fall down at any moment. But 4 had one thing that needed: cheap ship parts. The pale dawn sat in the dusty spaceport, its engine making unhappy sounds. Stood outside, looking at her ship with tired eyes. She was a woman in her mid-30s, with short black hair and hands rough from years of work. Her clothes were practical dark jacket, worn boots, nothing fancy. "How bad is it?" she asked. Crawled out from under the ship, his face covered in grease. He was younger than by 5 years, with a quick smile that could charm anyone. Right now, he was not smiling. "Bad," he said. "The power converter is dying. We need a new one or we will be stuck here forever." Sighed. "How much?" "Depends on what we can find in the market. Maybe 2,000 credits if we are lucky." 2,000 credits. They had 3,000 in their emergency fund. That would leave them with barely enough for fuel to reach their next job. It was going to be tight, but they had survived tight situations before. "Stay with the ship," said. "I will go find the parts." The market of 4 was a maze of narrow streets and small shops. Aliens of every kind walked past, tall ones, short ones, ones with too many legs, ones with no legs at all. The smell was terrible, a mix of strange foods and engine oil and things did not want to think about. She found a parts dealer after an hour of searching. The shop was run by a fat creature with blue skin and 4 arms. He tried to charge her 4,000 credits for a used power converter, talked him down to 1,800. It was still too much, but she had no choice. She was walking back to the ship when she heard the shouting. In a small alley between 2 buildings, 3 large aliens surrounded a 4th. The 3 were big reptile-like creatures with thick scales and mean eyes. They worked as enforcers for the criminal organizations that controlled places like 4. The 4th alien was different. He was old, with a body like a giant insect. His shell was cracked in places, and his 4 thin legs shook as he tried to stand straight. He belonged to the species Nu. They were traders, known across the galaxy for their honesty and their very long memories. "Please," the old said, his voice was soft and clicking. "I need more time. Business has been bad. The shipping routes changed. I will pay, I promise." One of them laughed. It was not a nice laugh. "You said that last month, Bug. The syndicate does not give more time. You pay now or we take payment from your body." He raised his fist. The old closed his eyes, waiting for the blow. "How much does he owe?" The words came out of his mouth before she could stop them. The 3 turned to look at her. The old opened his eyes. "Walk away, human," the lead said. "This is not your problem." "I asked the question, how much does he owe?" The looked at her like she was crazy. Maybe she was not a fighter. She had no weapons. But something about the old alien's fear made her unable to walk away. 1,200 credits, the said, plus interest, 1,500 total. 1,500 credits. That was almost all of their emergency fund. If she paid this, they would barely have enough for fuel. No money for food. No money for unexpected problems. It was stupid. It was dangerous. Reached into her jacket and pulled out her credit chip. "I will pay it." The alley went silent. They stared at her. The old's mouth opened in shock. "You will pay his debt?" the lead asked. "You do not even know him." "Does it matter? You want your money, here it is." She transferred the credits. They checked his device, confirmed the payment, and shrugged. "The syndicate thanks you for your business, human. The Bug's debt is clear." They walked away, already looking for their next victim. And the old stood alone in the alley. For a long moment, neither spoke. "Why?" the finally asked. His voice was barely a whisper. "Why did you do that? You do not know me. We have never met. That money, I could see it was important to you." Was not sure how to answer. She had asked herself the same question. You looked like you needed help, she said finally. That was enough reason. But you gained nothing. You lost money you needed, for a stranger, for an alien you will never see again. Shrugged, maybe, but I could not watch them hurt you and do nothing. That is not who I am. The old was quiet for a long time. His large eyes studied her face, as if trying to understand something complicated. I am, he said at last. I have lived for 200 years. I have traveled to 1,000 worlds. I have met millions of beings from hundreds of species. And in all that time, no one has ever helped me without wanting something in return, until today, until you. Felt uncomfortable with his words. She did not think she had done anything special. It is fine, really. I hope things get better for you. She started to walk away. Wait, called. Your name, please, I must know your name. She looked back, just, he repeated. His mandibles clicked together in what might have been a smile. I will remember. Returned to the pale dawn, was waiting for her. Did you get the part? He asked. Yes, she handed him the power converter. And the emergency fund. Hesitated. There was a problem. We have about 300 credits left. His eyes went wide. 300, what happened? She told him about the old, about the enforcers, about the debt she paid. When she finished, was silent. Then he laughed, not angry, just tired. You gave our money to a stranger, he said. A random alien in an alley on a planet we will never visit again. I know. We might not be able to buy food next week. I know. That was incredibly stupid. I know. Looked at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head and smiled. That is why I follow you. You are the only person I know who would do something that's stupid for someone she does not know. That is rare. They fixed the power converter that night. The pale dawn lifted off from for the next morning, leaving the ugly brown planet behind. Never expected to see again. She never expected to hear from him. She had done a small thing, paid a debt, and moved on with her life. She did not know that on the ground below, an old watched her ship rise into the yellow sky. She did not know that he whispered words in his ancient language, words that roughly meant, a debt of the soul is paid with the soul. She did not know that she had just changed the future of humanity. But she would learn, they all would. 6 months passed. The galaxy turned as it always did. Wars were fought in distant systems. Trade routes shifted. Empires grew and shrank. And quietly, without anyone noticing, something strange began happening to humans. Was a diplomat. She worked for the Earth government on the capital world of the Galactic Union, a planet called Central. Her job was to make friends for humanity, to build relationships with alien species, to help Earth grow stronger in a galaxy where humans were still new and weak. It was not an easy job. Humans had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago. They were small, young, unimportant. The older species looked at them like adults look at children, sometimes with kindness, sometimes with annoyance, rarely with respect. For 3 months had been trying to get a trade agreement with the Merchant Council. The agreement would give Earth better access to important technology. It would help human colonies grow faster. It would change everything. But the Council kept saying no. The vote was always against Earth, always by a small margin. Had tried everything, arguments, data, promises. Nothing worked. Then on a Tuesday morning, everything changed. Walked into the council chamber expecting another defeat. Instead, the council voted yes. The agreement passed easily. She was so shocked she could not speak for a full minute. What happened? She asked a colleague afterward. Why did they change their minds? Her colleague shrugged. They spoke for Earth. They said good things about humans. After that, others followed. The frowned. There were traitors, neutral in all politics. They never spoke for anyone. They never took sides. Why would they speak for Earth now? She tried to find out, but no one would give her a clear answer. The representative just smiled his strange insect smile and said, "We remember our friends." Did not understand, but she was grateful. Far across the galaxy, in a region of space where stars were few and danger was everywhere, Captain had a different problem. His patrol ship, the Brave Heart, was dying. The engine had failed in the middle of nowhere, light years from any friendly port. His crew of 12 was running out of air. Their distress signals had found no response. Was a military man, 30 years old, strong and calm even in crisis. But as the hours passed and help did not come, even he began to lose hope. "Captain," his communications officer said, "I am picking up ships, multiple contacts." Felt a spark of hope. "Union vessels?" "No, sir, they are a trade convoy." Frowned. "Ships passed through this region sometimes, but they never stopped. They were traders focused on profit. They did not rescue stranded military ships." But these ships were slowing down. They were changing course. They were coming directly toward the Brave Heart. An hour later, stood in his airlock as a shuttle connected to his ship. The door opened and an old walked through. His shell was cracked in places and his movements were slow and careful. "I am," the alien said. "We will take your ship in tow. You will be safe." Was stunned. "Thank you, but why? Do not do things like this. No offense." Made a clicking sound that might have been a laugh. "We are remembering an old debt, a debt to humans. Your people helped one of us once. Now we help you." "What debt? I do not understand." "You do not need to understand," said. "You only need to know that we always remember." The Brave Heart was towed to safety. Crew survived. When they reached port, tried to pay for the rescue. They refused. "Already paid," they said, "long ago." These were not the only strange events. On a mining colony, a human family was about to lose their home. They could not pay their debts. The bank was coming to take everything. Then a merchant appeared and bought their debt. He canceled it, asking nothing in return. On a space station, a human trader was cheated by a criminal gang. Before she could lose everything, witnesses came forward. They against the criminals. They saved her business. On a dozen worlds, in 100 small ways, humans found help where they expected none. Doors opened that should have been closed. Problems solved themselves. Enemies backed down. And always, when humans asked why, the answer was the same: the remember. On Earth, in the headquarters of Human Intelligence Services, analysts gathered to study the pattern. "It started 6 months ago," said the lead analyst, a woman named. She pointed at charts on her screen. "Before that, treated humans the same as everyone else. Now they favor us. Everywhere, in trade, in politics, in emergencies." "Why?" asked her boss. "What changed?" "We do not know. They will not explain. They just say they are repaying a debt." "What debt?" "We have no special relationship with them. We never helped them in any major way." Shook her head. "That is the mystery. We have searched our records. There is no treaty, no secret agreement, no big favor we did for them. Nothing that would explain this level of support." Her boss leaned back in his chair. "Maybe it is a trick. Maybe they want something from us." "Maybe," said. "But if it is a trick, it is a very expensive one. They have spent millions helping us. They have used political capital they saved for centuries. This is not a small thing." "Then what is it?" Looked at her charts, at the pattern that spread across the galaxy like ripples in water. "I think," she said slowly, "someone did something. One human somewhere did something that mattered to them, and now they are repaying it. One person, one action, that does not make sense. No one person could cause all this. I know it sounds crazy, but they have perfect memories. They remember everything for generations, and they have a culture of repaying debts, if one of us helped one of them in a meaningful way." She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Somewhere in space, the pale dawn flew toward its next job. Sat in the captain's chair, drinking bad coffee and reviewing cargo manifests. She had no idea that her face was now known to every in the galaxy. She had no idea that her name was spoken with respect in councils. She had no idea that her small act of kindness, 1,500 credits paid to save a stranger, had started something that could not be stopped. Came onto the bridge. "Hey boss, we got a message from a trader. He wants to hire us for a cargo run. Good money, easy route." "That is the third offer this month from," said. "Strange. We never used to get contracts." "Maybe our reputation is growing." Shrugged. "Maybe. Accept the job, we need the money." She went back to her coffee, thinking about nothing in particular. Behind her, invisible, a wave was building. A wave made of gratitude and memory, of whispers passed from to across the stars. They did not forget, they never forgot. And they had decided that humanity, all of humanity, would benefit from one woman's kindness. The galaxy was about to learn what that meant. New was a beautiful world, blue oceans, green forests, mountains that touched the clouds. 50,000 humans called it home, living in small cities spread across the main continent. It was peaceful here, far from the busy center of the galaxy. People farmed, they fished, they raised families. Governor loved her world. She was 45 years old, with gray in her black hair and lines on her face from years of hard work. She had built New from nothing, a tiny colony with 300 people when she arrived, now a thriving community with hospitals and schools and hope for the future. But was worried. She stood in her office, looking at the message on her screen. It was from Earth Intelligence. The Dominion Syndicate was moving. The Syndicate was the largest criminal organization in the galaxy. They controlled smuggling, gambling, weapons. They bribed governments and killed those they could not bribe. Their leader was a reptilian alien named, a warlord who had built an empire of fear. And now wanted New. The planet had valuable minerals, rare metals that could be used for starship engines, worth billions. The Syndicate wanted those minerals. They did not care about the people in their way. Door opened. A young man walked in, the commander of New's defense force. He was 28, with the look of a soldier who had never seen real war. "Governor," he said, "I have the numbers." "Tell me." "We have 300 soldiers, 12 small patrol ships, 3 orbital defense platforms if the Syndicate comes." He did not finish. He did not need to. "How many ships does have?" asked. "Our intelligence says 50 warships, maybe more." 50 warships against 12 patrol ships. It was not a battle, it was a slaughter. The Galactic Union asked, "Will they help?" I sent a request. They said they will send a fleet, but it will take 3 weeks to arrive, if attacks before then. Closed her eyes. 3 weeks, too long, much too long. "Start evacuation preparations," she said. "Get the children out first, then the elderly, then everyone else, as many as we can save." "Governor, we do not have enough transport ships. We can save maybe 20,000, the rest." "The rest will stay here with me. We will fight. We will buy time for those who escape." Looked at her, he was scared, she could see, but he nodded. "Yes, Governor, I will fight beside you." Smiled sadly. Such a young man, so brave. He deserved better than to die on a forgotten world at the edge of space. 3 days later, the Syndicate came. Fleet appeared at the edge of the system, 53 warships, bristling with weapons. Each one could destroy a city by itself. Together, they could turn New into ash. Watched them approach on her command screen. Beside her, prepared the defense platforms. The evacuation ships were already leaving, carrying as many people as they could hold. Not enough, never enough. A message came from flagship, accepted it. Appeared on her screen. He was tall and scaled, with yellow eyes and teeth like knives. His voice was deep and cold. "Governor of New," he said, "you have 1 hour to surrender. Give us your world, and we will let your people live as workers in our mines. Refuse, and we will kill everyone. Felt her hands shake, but she kept her voice steady. We are citizens of the Galactic Union. You have no right to attack us. Laughed. The Union is far away. Their ships will not arrive in time. You are alone, human, accept it. Then we will fight alone. Brave words, stupid but brave. You have 1 hour. The screen went dark. Looked at, Governor, what do? We fight. We hold them as long as we can. We give our people time to escape. She was preparing to die when the sensors screamed. Governor shouted, new contacts, ships arriving at the edge of the system. Hope flared in his heart. The Union already. No, ma'am, they are. I do not know. The signatures are strange, different from anything I have seen. Looked at her screen. Dozens of new ships were appearing. Then hundreds, ship after ship after ship, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. What are they? She whispered. The answer came over an open channel. A clicking, chirping voice filled the command center. Human colony of New, this is the trade fleet. We have come to assist you. Please do not be afraid. Stared at the screen in shock. There were traders. Neutral, they had no military. Why would they come here? More ships arrived. The final count was 347 vessels. They were strange shapes, long and thin, covered in what looked like golden scales. Not warships, thought, trade ships, cargo haulers. What were they doing here? A new signal came through. This one was from the lead ship. I am of the collective, the voice said. I speak for my people. The humans of New are under our protection. His response was immediate. His face appeared on the screen, his yellow eyes wide with surprise and anger. This is not your war. Leave now, or we will destroy you with the humans. His reply was calm, almost amused. Of the Dominion Syndicate, I know who you are, I know what you have done, but I do not think you know who we are, not truly. You are traitors, said. Merchants, you have no weapons, no fleet, you are bluffing. We are traitors now, agreed. But do you know what we were before? Silence saw his face change. Something moved behind his yellow eyes. Was it fear? I see you remember, continued. Good. Then you know that the chose peace. We were not forced into it. We chose it because we had already conquered half the galaxy and we grew tired of blood. We stopped fighting because there was no one left who could challenge us. The ships began to move. Slowly, smoothly, they spread out across the system. Their formation was perfect, each ship exactly where it should be. But we did not forget how to fight, said. Our ships are old, but they remember too. And if you threaten our friends, we will remind the galaxy why they were once feared. His face twisted with rage. Friends, since when are humans friends of the? Since one of them saved my life, said simply. She paid a debt she did not owe. She helped me when she had no reason to. She expected nothing in return. And now I will show her, show all humans, what that kindness means to us. Did not understand. What human, what debt, but she did not care. Hope was blooming in her chest like a flower after rain. You will die for this, said. You and every in this system. Perhaps, replied. Or perhaps you will learn something today. Perhaps you will learn that kindness is the most powerful weapon in the universe, because it creates debts that can never be fully repaid, and the pay their debts. The channel closed. Stared at her screen. 347 ships faced 53 Syndicate warships. The numbers still favored, but something had changed. Something in the air, in the feeling of the moment. Spoke first, Governor, what do we do? Smiled. For the first time in days, she felt something other than despair. We watch, she said, and we learn. The battle for New was about to begin. Was not a stupid creature. He had built the Dominion Syndicate from nothing, crushing enemies and absorbing rivals for 30 years. He had survived assassination attempts, betrayals, and wars. He knew when to fight and when to wait. But he was proud. and his pride would not let him run from traitors. "All ships," he ordered, "attack formation, destroy the first, then we take the planet." 53 warships moved forward, their weapons charged, their crews prepared for battle. On the surface of Nu, Governor watched the two fleets approach each other. Her heart beat fast. Beside her, tracked the movements on his console. "The Syndicate is committing everything," he said. "All ships forward attack." The holding position, they are not moving. Frowned, why were they not moving? 300 ships just sitting there waiting to be hit. It made no sense. Then the ships began to change. Panels opened along their hulls. Sections that had looked like cargo holds split apart, revealing hidden spaces beneath. Long shapes extended from the ships, shapes that looked very much like weapons. Governor whispered, "Those ships, they are not cargo haulers, they never were." The fleet opened fire. Light filled the space between the two fleets. Not the red or blue of normal energy weapons, but a strange golden color, the color of sunlight, of honey, of ancient things. The golden beams struck the Syndicate ships with terrible accuracy. The first 3 warships simply disappeared. They did not explode. They did not break apart. They were there and then they were not. What? Stared at his screen. What weapons are those? No one could answer him. The Syndicate had intelligence on every major species in the galaxy. They knew about trade routes, businesses, politics, but they knew nothing about weapons. No one did. Because they had not used them in 1,000 years. The golden light struck again and again. Syndicate ships tried to fight back, but their weapons seemed to do nothing. Energy beams scattered against shields. Missiles exploded before they could hit. The trade ships moved through the battle like ghosts, untouchable, unstoppable. On her command ship, watched with her mouth open. This was not a battle, this was a lesson. "How is this possible?" she asked. "They are traitors, everyone knows that." Her communications officer spoke up. She was young, specializing in alien languages and cultures. "Governor, I studied history in school. 1,000 years ago, they were the greatest military power in the galaxy. They conquered hundreds of worlds. Then, suddenly, they stopped. They put down their weapons and became traitors. No one knows exactly why. But they kept their weapons. They kept everything. They forget nothing. They probably have technology that the rest of the galaxy has never seen." On the battlefield, was learning this lesson the hard way. Half his fleet was gone. 27 ships vanished in minutes. The survivors were trying to retreat, but the had surrounded them. There was nowhere to run. "Cease fire," shouted into his communicator. "We surrender, cease fire." The golden light stopped. The ships held their position, weapons still ready. His voice came over the channel. "You surrender, warlord." His face was gray with shock. His scales had lost their shine. He looked old suddenly and afraid. "Yes, we surrender, please, no more." "Good, you will power down your weapons. You will wait for Galactic Union forces to arrive. You will answer for your crimes." "Yes, whatever you want, just no more." Was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was almost gentle. "I am not cruel, I do not enjoy killing. We stopped being warriors because we grew tired of death, but we will always protect our friends. Remember that." The battle was over. It had lasted 12 minutes. Governor sat in her chair, unable to move. She was trying to understand what she had just seen. 300 trading ships had destroyed half of the most feared criminal fleet in the galaxy, without losing a single vessel. Governor said, "We are receiving a message from the flagship. They want to talk to you." Straightened her clothes and tried to look like a leader instead of a woman who had just watched the impossible. "Put them through." Appeared on her screen. He was old, his shell cracked and worn, but his eyes were bright with intelligence and something else, something like peace. "Governor," he said, "your world is safe. The Syndicate will not threaten you again." "I thank you." The words felt too small. I do not understand. Why did you help us? They have never taken sides before. A human helped me once, said simply. She saved my life when she had no reason to. She paid a debt I owed to criminals, using money she needed for herself. She asked for nothing in return. Shook her head. One human did a kind thing for you, so you saved an entire colony. That seems disproportionate. Made a clicking sound. Laughter, maybe. You do not understand the governor. We remember everything, every kindness, every insult, every debt. And when someone helps one of us, they help all of us. The human is her name. She did not just save me. In our culture, she honored all. She showed us that humans are worthy of friendship and to repay our debts. But this is so much more than what she gave. Is it? Tilted his head. She gave everything she could. She risked her survival for a stranger. How do you measure such a gift? In credits? In ships? No, you measure it in intent, in heart. She gave with her whole heart. We respond with ours. Felt tears in her eyes. She had been ready to die today. Her people had been ready to die. And they were saved because one woman somewhere in the galaxy had been kind to a stranger. The human, does she know what she started? No, said. She thinks she did a small thing. She would be embarrassed by all this attention. That is what makes her special. She does not do good things for reward. She does them because they are right. A message came through console. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. Other species, inspired by the stand, were offering help to human colonies, trade agreements, military support, political alliances. They had not just saved new, they had shown the galaxy that humanity had powerful friends. And the galaxy was paying attention. What happens now? Asked. Now you rebuild, your people live, and you tell this story. Tell them that kindness matters. Tell them that small actions can change the universe. Tell them that they remember, and so should they. Ended the transmission. Sat alone in her office for a long time, watching the ships hang in orbit like golden guardians. Somewhere in the galaxy, a woman named was going about her life, not knowing that she had saved 50,000 people she would never meet. Not knowing that she had become a legend. Not knowing that her single good deed was still spreading, still growing, still changing everything it touched. Outside, the sun was setting over new. The sky turned orange and pink and gold, the color of weapons, of gratitude, of hope. Tomorrow, Governor would start rebuilding. Tonight, she would rest, and she would remember the lesson she had learned. Kindness was not weakness, it was power, the greatest power in the universe. And humanity was about to discover just how powerful it could be. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Nu. 1 year since they had shown the galaxy what it meant to protect their friends. And in that year, everything had changed. Stood in a great hall on the planet Central, the capital world of the Galactic Union. She wore formal clothes for the first time in her life, a dark suit that felt strange and uncomfortable after years of work jackets and worn boots. Beside her, looked equally awkward, pulling at his collar like it was trying to choke him. I hate this, muttered. You saved humanity, whispered back. Smile. I did not save humanity. I paid 1,500 credits for a stranger. That is all. That is what you keep saying. The galaxy disagrees. The hall was enormous. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, representatives from hundreds of species. In the center, on a raised platform, the Council of the Galactic Union sat in their ancient chairs. They were about to vote on something that had never happened before in the history of the Union. Full membership for humanity. Normally, a species needed centuries to earn full membership. They needed to prove themselves in trade, in diplomacy, in culture. Humans had been part of the galaxy for only 50 years. They were young, weak, unimportant. But today, the vote would be different. Ambassador stood before the council, making the final argument for Earth. She was good at her job, calm, smart, persuasive. But she knew the argument was not really about words. It was about something else. I will not list humanity's achievements, she said. We are a young species. We have not built great empires or discovered new technologies. We do not have the oldest history or the largest population. By many measures, we are not ready for full membership. The hall was silent. Even the aliens who supported humanity looked confused by her words. But I want to tell you something, continued. Over the past year, I have collected testimonies from species across the galaxy, not about our governments or our militaries, about our people, about ordinary humans doing ordinary things. She pressed a button, and images appeared on screens throughout the hall. This is Doctor. She was working on a plague world when evacuation ships arrived. She could have left. Instead, she stayed for 3 more months, treating patients who had no one else. She saved 2,000 lives and nearly died herself. Another image. This is Engineer. He was passing through a space station when a ship crashed into the docking bay. Fire was spreading. He ran into the flames to save 12 aliens he had never met. He lost his arm. When asked why he did it, he said he did not think about it, he just acted. Another image. This is Captain. She paid 1,500 credits to save a merchant from criminals. It was all the money she had. She expected nothing in return. Felt her face turn red. She wanted to sink into the floor and disappear. These are not special humans, said. They are ordinary people. They work on ships, in hospitals, in factories. They do not think they are heroes. They do not ask for recognition. They simply help when they see someone in need. She paused, looking at the assembled aliens. They have called us soul-bonded allies. They have not used that term for any species in 800 years. And they did it not because of our weapons or our wealth, but because one human showed kindness to one. Because that is who we are. Step back. I ask you to vote for humanity, not because we are powerful, but because we try to be good, and I believe the galaxy needs more of that. The vote took less than an hour. It was not close. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Union, the first species in history to receive the honor after only 50 years. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Aliens of every shape and size came to congratulate the human delegation, tried to hide in a corner, but people kept finding her. Species she had never met wanted to shake her hand, touch her shoulder, tell her how much her story meant to them. She was exhausted and overwhelmed when a familiar clicking voice spoke behind her. You are hiding. Turned, stood there old and worn but smiling his strange insect smile. He looked smaller than she remembered, more fragile, but his eyes were the same, bright and knowing. She did not know what else to say. I never got to thank you for everything, for all of this. There is nothing to thank me for. I paid a debt, that is all. It was not just a debt, 1,500 credits, that was nothing. Made his clicking laugh. You still do not understand, do you, after everything? He led her to a quiet balcony overlooking the city below. Millions of lights sparkled in the darkness. Ships flew between the towers, carrying beings from 1,000 worlds. I have lived for 212 years, said. I am near the end now. I will die soon, but I am content because of you. Because of me. You asked me once why I did all this. I told you it was because you helped me without wanting anything in return. That was true, but it was not the whole truth. He turned to look at her with his ancient eyes. In my long life, I have seen empires rise and fall. I have seen species destroy each other over greed and fear. I have seen the galaxy become harder, colder, more selfish with each passing century. I thought kindness was dying. I thought the old ways, the good ways, were forgotten. His voice softened. Then I met you, a human with nothing to gain, spending money she needed, helping a stranger she would never see again. Not for reward, not for reputation, simply because it was right. Placed one thin claw on her arm. Do you know what you gave me that day? Not my life. Something more important. You gave me hope. You showed me that goodness still exists, that kindness still matters, that all my years of cynicism were wrong. Felt tears building in her eyes. I just paid a debt. Anyone would have done it. No, shook his head slowly. That is where you are wrong. Anyone would not have done it. Most beings would have walked past. Most beings would have protected their own interests. That is what the galaxy teaches us. But you did not learn that lesson. You kept something pure inside you. He looked out at the city. Humans do not understand their own power. You think you are small and young and weak, but you carry something the oldest species have forgotten, the belief that kindness matters. And when you act on that belief, when you help without hesitation, when you give without calculation, you remind the rest of us who we wanted to be. Wiped her eyes. I do not feel powerful. I feel like the same person I always was. That is exactly the point, clicked his mandibles. You have not changed. The galaxy changed around you. That is the power of goodness. It does not force anyone. It inspires them. It reminds them of their better selves. They stood in silence for a while, watching the lights of the capital city. What will you do now? Asked. Thought about it. Go back to my ship, find more cargo runs, help where I can. Not stay here, enjoy your fame. You could have anything now, wealth, power, position. That is not who I am. I am a cargo captain. I like flying. I like seeing new places. I like helping people when I can. The rest, she shrugged. The rest is just noise. Laughed, a warm clicking sound. I knew I chose well. When I first saw you, I knew you were special, and I was right. They said goodbye that night. Never saw again. He died 3 months later, peacefully, surrounded by his family. His last words, they said, were about a human who showed him that kindness still lived in the universe. The pale dawn left Central the next morning, heading back into the stars. Sat in the co-pilot seat, smiling at his captain. So, he said, you accidentally started a galactic movement. What is next? Smiled, feeling more like herself than she had in months. Same as always, find work, help where we can, try not to cause too much trouble. You are terrible at that last part. I know. The ship jumped into hyperspace, carrying its crew toward the next adventure. Behind them the story spread. A human helped a stranger, and the stranger remembered. Then the whole galaxy remembered, and slowly, one kindness at a time, the galaxy began to change. It would take centuries. There would be setbacks and failures, but the movement had started and it could not be stopped. All because one woman, on an ugly planet, decided to help someone who needed it. That is the power of humans, not weapons or wealth, not technology or territory. Kindness, simple, stubborn, unstoppable kindness. And when you do one good deed for humanity, you will witness the unstoppable force of their gratitude. They learned that lesson. The Dominion Syndicate learned it. The Galactic Union learned it. The universe was still learning it, one story at a time. And the story was just beginning.